Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about Jesse Madison Holton. He grew up in Eclectic, Alabama. It is said he was teased in his younger years by other students for being a small, skinny kid. But when he reached high school, he had a growth spurt and became one of the popular kids. He had a pretty normal childhood. People remembered him being a sweet kid. That was until senior year when he started acting out. He began hanging out with a new group of kids and started smoking, drinking, partying. His parents noticed and were not happy with this new behavior and tried to intervene and convince him to stop. During this time, his parents were also going through a divorce, but agreed that Madison needed to straighten out his act or they were going to send him to juvie. He didn't really care what his parents had to say about his life and who he chose to hang out with. So on Sunday, September 11th, 2016, he had a house party. The party soon got out of hand, and one of the parents of a kid that was there actually ended up calling Mike, who is Madison's dad, at his work and told him that her kid had come home after being at his house and was drunk. Mike was a very prominent man in their town. He used to be the fire chief before becoming the mayor. So after the call, he headed home, found the house had kids, drugs, alcohol, and he was pissed. He decided to call the cops and started kicking everyone out. When the police arrived, he told them that he had his son inside and he had handcuffed him. By this time, Madison's mom, April, had arrived since Mike called her when he heard what had happened. Mike asked the cops what they could do to get his son sent to juvie. They didn't know how else to help him to get on a better path and were hoping that juvie would kind of scare him straight and make him want to clean up his life. Being as it was Sunday, they told him they could get a copy of the report and the next day they can go from there. They didn't arrest Madison. Instead, the police just left. However, just 11 minutes later, police got a 911 call to go back to the house. When they arrived, Mike was found dead and April was dying. Both had been shot. Madison told police that after they left, his parents went into his dad's bedroom to talk privately, but it soon turned violent. He said he heard his mom call for help, so he kicked in the bedroom door and saw his dad holding his mom and wouldn't let her go. So Madison then ran to the neighbors to get help. He said that his dad then shot his mom before turning the gun on himself. Police soon realized that the story wasn't quite adding up when they took a closer look at Mike's wounds. Initially, it seemed that he had placed the gun in his mouth and shot. However, closer examination showed he was actually shot in the back of the head. And if he was miraculously able to shoot himself in the back of the head, he would have also had to have done it with his left hand due to the angle. And Mike was right-handed. So doesn't seem likely he shot himself. During the autopsy, his death was labeled homicide. Madison was brought in for questioning, but his story never changed, and he said he was innocent and claimed he wasn't there because he had ran to the neighbors to get help. He said he didn't hear the gunshots, but when police looked at the crime scene and the distance from the house to the neighbor Madison claimed to have gone to, he would have heard the gunshots due to how close the houses were. Madison also didn't seem to police that he was upset about losing both his parents. He's also seen on interrogation footage flipping off the officer as he leaves the room. Like, people should know that those rooms are always recorded. He was also recorded while on a phone call, saying if any of the girls he had slept with were like, "Damn, I fucked a murderer." Like, how dumb can someone be? It seemed like the only thing Madison was actually upset about after losing both of his parents was that he wouldn't be able to go to homecoming. A week after their deaths, Madison was officially charged with the murders. His friends and family stuck by his side and maintained that he was innocent, saying there was no way he would hurt them and that he loved his parents. During the investigation, it came out that Mike was taking the divorce really hard. When he found out that April had started seeing someone else, he was upset and said he couldn't live without her. His diary was found, and in it read, quote, "I loved you more than you will ever know. I just can't go on knowing you're with someone else. I know you will say I was being selfish, but it was either me or both of us." It was also discovered that Mike had a drug problem, and his family knew he was struggling, but no one talked about it. The police also found physical evidence that Mike and April did have an altercation before he died. Mike had scratches on his face, and his DNA was found underneath April's nails. Madison had no blood on him. Prosecutors argued that the gun used was small and wouldn't have caused a lot of blood spatter, but still, how close he would have had to be when his father was shot, you would think he'd have some kind of blood on him. I couldn't find anything about if the police had tested his hands for gunshot residue, But the evidence did point to Madison being innocent. He soon met Greg Biggs at church, who was a former FBI agent and a state's attorney. When they first met, Greg didn't know that Madison was being looked at for his parents' murders. He offered to look into the case and look closely at the gun and recreated the scene to see if it was possible for Mike to have killed himself. He discovered that due to the size of the gun, it actually would have been possible to shoot himself in the back of the head. Also, remember when the police first came to the house? Mike told them he had Madison handcuffed inside. When they came back after the shooting, he was still in the handcuffs. The sheriff's theory was that Madison took them off since the key was in the living room and then put them back on before police arrived. Also, his prints weren't on the gun, so did he put gloves on as well, if we believe the sheriff's theory? Remember, this all happened in 11 minutes. The only complete print on the gun actually belonged to April. The rest were partials that they couldn't match to either Mike or Madison. So due to all of that, the DA came out during jury selection and said they could not prove without a reasonable doubt that Madison killed his parents. So all charges were dropped. Even the pathologist said he couldn't say for sure that Mike's death was a homicide, even though that's what he originally put on the autopsy report. Sheriffs say it's still an open case, and they believe Madison got away with murder. Now, this is a very controversial case with a lot of people split on whether he did it or not. I mean, there's arguments that Madison had the motive since he knew his parents wanted to send him to juvie, but on the other hand, the sheriff's giving Madison a lot of credit in the small time frame to get himself out of the handcuffs, get the gun, shoot both his parents without one of them trying to stop him, since Madison had no wounds on him or any blood, then not leave fingerprints on the gun, after he had to put himself back into the handcuffs and run to the neighbor's house. I'm not sure where I stand because I can see both sides, but at the same time, it just seems like a lot for a 17-year-old to do and to cover up. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and share it with your friends. Stay safe, and I'll be talking to you next week.